Singapore's National Development Minister Desmond says the nation's public housing policies must keep pace as society evolves. He says this is to ensure that all places are accessible to Singaporeans and that communities remain diverse. He points out how Singapore's pioneer leaders decided against leaving public housing to the private sector to achieve this. He said this at the CNA Summit at Pan Pacific, Singapore. This year's theme is on the trade-offs that leaders face in addressing challenges.
Citing the new flat classification framework announced last October, National Development Minister Desmond says the move enables authorities to build affordable public housing in more central areas. In doing so, there is more social mixing in public housing estates.
We have seen that in other metropolitan cities and societies, homes in attractive locations, more central locations, are more expensive, and over time they become accessible only to the wealthy, while others are pushed further out into the suburbs or further in to deprived inner cities. This stratifies society and stokes tensions between different groups of the haves and the have-nots.
Mr. Lee also says the country must be prepared to embark on projects that may take decades to bear fruit. Having the political will and resources to follow through is key. The Long Island project is one such example. It's to protect the East Coast area against rising sea levels, but will also have housing and recreation.
These innovative projects are not easy, require time, effort, and resources to overcome complex technical challenges. Yet, we pursue them because the longer-term benefits are clear. They transform constraints such as land scarcity into catalysts for forward-thinking urban solutions and sustainable growth.
As a nation, Mr. Lee says Singapore's strong social compact through the years has allowed the small island state to thrive despite the tight constraints. These include growing its economy, creating good jobs and livable homes, as well as a prosperous city, while respecting its heritage and nature.
As Prime Minister Lawrence Wong said during his budget speech, and I quote, "At every turn, we've chosen determination over despair, innovation over stagnation, and solidarity over division," unquote. Everything flows from this. Our ability to plan long-term, make trade-offs fairly, rally Singaporeans to make sacrifices for the common wider good, and deal with whatever challenges might come our way.
Looking ahead, he says that with the refreshed social compact under the Forward SG exercise, he's confident the nation has what it takes to turn future challenges into opportunities.
Well, this year's CNA Summit looks at the challenges leaders face when they have to make strategic decisions while managing competing priorities.
Hosted by MediaCorp, this year's theme is trade-offs in leadership. Topics included talent management.
The company needs global talent, but the talent may not need a global company. And therefore, we're trying to develop various tools that will help talent stay. And for those that we hire, we try to hire the kind of profile that wants to be with City. We're really doing a lot to develop talent locally. Like, for example, here in Singapore, we're trying to ensure that people locally have ways to learn, develop, and get various different pathways.
And what it means when it comes to the poaching of talent.
I think it's only natural that talents are poached and targeted. That's why they are talents, right? And the more they are poached and targeted means the better the job the company must be doing in developing and exposing the person's capabilities to the industry. We don't necessarily have to look at it as a sacrifice. If you develop talents well and you invest in your talent, it does speak a lot about how long-term and how sustainable the company is for the long run.
There is also the topic of handling external stakeholders.
I think it's very hard to make everybody very happy all the time. It's impossible. But can we also think in terms of where, different stakeholders, if they all get something, maybe not maximize. If you maximize for one stakeholder, maybe you end up minimizing. And the word I like to use is about optimize. That means collectively, everyone gets some value, some benefit, but not any particular stakeholder gets to maximize.
A lot of that requires managing expectations. And if you can do that, then you can get a reasonable situation. Sometimes you can't. And so sometimes you wind up making some constituencies unhappy. One answer to this of how do you handle this is think of time frames. In the short term, it's much harder. But if your time frames are extended enough, and you can get different optionality and solutions. But even that requires dealing with expectations.
One of the big takeaways is when the discussion about a high-performing staff versus someone that values the organization a lot. How do we trade off? Who do we keep and who can be replaced? So those discussions were really impactful.
As a leader today, we want to be able to grow fast. We want to make sure that our team members are very happy working at Oh My Home. They want to be part of our vision, part of our growth. But at the same time, they also would like flexibility. They want to have less working hours. So these are the things that we need to be very empathetic towards as leaders, but yet at the same time be able to work smart, work hard, towards achieving our goals.
Previous editions of the summit touched on subjects such as sustainability and women inspiring change.